He openly admitted. I think it's pretty amazing that he responded to your Twitter tweet and gave you the information that he did about why he was absent. Right. I think that was a pretty good response. If you ask me, that's very personal what he let you know. So I think again,
It sounds like nonsense. Why would he say, "Yeah, I've just been getting divorced
that's
for the
fine,
past
man. You
18
can
months,
think
but
it's nonsense,
I've
but
never
when
sold a single Pulse or Pulsex." I mean, bro, come on. You have to understand that not everybody on X, like around Pulsechain, is like a dip.
I
Like,
don't know
say
what the hell
less.
you're
Like,
talking. Who are you talking to, bro? You don't know who I am.
I'm
Shut
talking to
up.
you.
Like you don't know anything, man.
Okay.
You literally don't know anything.
No, I know a lot.
Well,
No, you
I actually
think
know
you
a
do.
lot. You're in his living room, bro. You can't put the guy on to say hi. Dude, not only do I think you don't know Rackham, I don't think you've ever even heard Rackham speak in a space before.
Bro, he just walked up
Like
to me.
he's
He's talking
personally
right now
said this
next to
shit.
me. And if you
What
shut up,
about
you could hear him. But you just keep talking and spewing
what do you
crap out of
mean
your
if I
mouth.
shut up I could hear him? You're
Say hi,
pretending like
Rack.
this is
All right, so y'all saw him. I don't know how I would fake that. Hopefully you did see him. All right. Can you guys hear me?
loud and clear.
I mean, I don't know if that was enough. Hopefully Cleo got to see it and everybody else got to see him. I don't know why his voice changed or whatever. I think it's just been too long.
I mean, I just saw a guy that looks very much like Rackham Rishel, so
Yeah.
that's
No, it's definitely him, man. I mean, yeah, again, I've obviously been out in the public for a long time. Yeah, I've been in the public for a while. I've been friends with Rack for, I don't know, like 8 years, 10 years. Cleo, what's up, brother?
What he thinks of the Richard Schuler legal case. Is he aware that he's been arrested and remanded in Finland? He is accused, and it's been alleged by the Finnish authorities that he owes hundreds of millions of euros in unpaid taxes. And is he concerned that the only way he is going to be able to repay those hundreds of millions of euros in taxes is by skimping it out of the Pulsechain ecosystem?
Okay, he's asking if I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, that's
Not
what
really.
your opinion of it is.
I don't know what his jurisdiction is. I mean, I know he got a place in Finland, or what was the place in Finland he's at?
Helsinki.
Helsinki. Thank you very much. Um, pause this because it's just echoing. No, I'm not. I'm not overly concerned with that right now. I mean, it's where now. When did you hear that? Because I didn't. I wasn't even aware of that.
Not many people are, and it's because it's not being spoken about in the Pulsechain ecosystem. So he was arrested and in the end of September by the Finnish authorities for gross tax evasion and assault. He was remanded in custody. I don't know for how long, but the
Yes, sir.
Finnish authorities are now working with the IRS, DOJ, and SEC in the US, which is why there's not really much concern as to whether or not the US will get jurisdiction over the legal case with Pulsechain and Hex. Because let's face it, if the US don't get it, Finland will. But
Right.
he's accused.
actually, just to fact check you there, Cleo,
You
as
don't
that
do
article says, he
that.
was suspected for. He was not actually arrested per the article you're referencing.
No, he was arrested. There's several articles online, but I've actually been in contact with the Finnish police and the officer in charge of that. He's accused
Mother, you low life
yo
scumbag
you guys.
that he
Pulsechain
has created.
ecosystem.
He is the
The
snitch that he
SEC
created.
is the
Yes, he
least
created it.
concern
He
at the moment.
sacrificed 10K
Hey,
and he's upset
Das,
that his
you
10K
you
went down,
can
guys. He's
identify.
upset. He's a
You
Yo,
broke
you
can
guys gotta
G.
identify.
stop.
He is a broke G.
Guys, stop. Nobody gives a f about Cleo. Like,
No, I appreciate everybody being vigilant and concerned about what's going on. And obviously, we have no control over it. So we're at the mercy of what's going on as far as I don't know who's going to get true jurisdiction. I do like the court's argument or the judges about who really owns the blockchain. So there is that angle. I know they're going to play with Murder Row. So that part I get. Um, as far as me, I'm not going to be moved. And when I invest in something, I'm pretty resolved. So I'm going to keep increasing my positions and my revenue streams within the Pulse Chain network, regardless if everybody else bails. I'll be here to turn the lights out when you guys are gone.
what's up, Rackham? So, yeah, obviously, I'm very skeptical. I'd still like to kind of know why you're wearing the exact same outfit that you had back in 2022. But I'm kind of like that too. I find something I like, and I just wear it forever.
I'm sorry, you broke up. You said you're still kind of skeptical. You'd still like to know what was that?
No. I said you're wearing the exact same outfit that you did in 2022. And I said I'm kind of like that too. I find something I like to wear, and I just wear it all the time. But let me. How many validators are you running these days?
About 6,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, man, I don't think anybody wants to hear from me, man. Like, I'd love to hear your take on everything that's gone on, kind of where you're at. I mean, as far as anything like personal and stuff, I think, I don't think you need to mention any of that. But what's on your mind these days?
I'm actually trying to take advantage of the dip that's going on currently with a lot of the alt markets. I have so much Pulsex and Pulsechain. I'm not worried about gathering more market share of that particular asset, but mostly just trying to get news out of the SEC hearing and what's going on and transitioning with Richard. My opinion is I believe that one of the places that he does reside in is Helsinki in Finland. Do I think he's going to stay there after all this? No, I do not. I think he's going to be moving somewhere else abroad in Europe. I just got back from Europe. I was over in Croatia, Turkey, Italy, Greece. I went to all the Greek Isles, and so I spent a month over there, and that was quite nice. And but I was following the news and everything that was going on the entire time. Other than that, this is the season I know when a lot of the wealth's made, because when everybody else is getting nervous or turning on each other, this is tend to you make your solid moves for a good stream.
I couldn't agree more. I'd love to have you come listen to a couple of my spaces too. I think you'd find some of the information pretty enlightening. But can I take you back to 2022, right, or at least the beginning of this? Could I ask you, like, if you could have given Richard any advice, or let's say you put yourself in Richard's position, like, what would you have done differently? Or maybe if that's too long ago, like, what would you be
No,
doing
not
now?
really.
Oh, go
No,
ahead.
no. It's a very fair question, sir. To be honest with you, in my opinion, I him and I clashed because of his shock marketing that he was doing, and which has now had a ripple effect, and it's caused misappropriation of funds that they're saying. I don't believe that to be accurate at all. I think he used his own money, and I think he was doing it to obviously grow his social media footprint, his presence was by buying the Louis Vuitton, the different various brands, Versace and the other stuff that he was messing with at the time. Um, I I've always been of the mindset. I said it 2, 3 years ago. I'll say it now. Richard exists because of the community. The community does not exist because of Richard. If there's no community, there's no Richard. If there's no community, there's no Pulse Chain. So whether you put in $1,000 or you put in 20, 30, 40, $50 million into his particular cryptographic asset, however you want to refer to it as, it takes everybody working in cohesion to make that come to pass properly. It just so happens that it was a perfect storm that we got hit with, be it the shock marketing, which kind of started dividing the community a little bit. And then, of course, the Securities Exchange Commission came in with what they're doing. And then at the same time, they couldn't locate Richard in that province or that area of Finland. So they went to the Finnish government, obviously. They dispatched the local authorities who went out looking for him. They could never find him. That infuriated them. So they worked in, collusion with the SEC, and they're trying to bury Richard. There's no doubt that that's transpiring. And do I think it'll be effective? I don't, but my word's not law. But what have I been doing for a year and a half besides going through a divorce, which was horrific, and it got to me. I'm going to be honest about it. And yeah, I've just been amassing and going into other altcoins, and I'm going to continue to do so until we burn this whole thing to the ground, or it comes to pass with a 50 to 250x return.
Let's
Yeah,
be clear, that's just this cycle projection. So
well, here's the I think we're pretty much gonna know. I'm not gonna make my whole thesis out here, but I think that Pulse Chain has to finish the year strong. I keep targeting, at least on PLS, the 406 number. You saw the pump we had; it stopped just short of that 406. That's sort of everyone's average entry price over the course of this past year of trading. And I think if we can be above that number in December, we're gonna have a really nice run, right? And it's really gonna. So can I ask you about when it comes to everybody talks about like this SAC wallet, right? I think a big shortcoming of Pulse Chain is that it doesn't have a lot of kind of like the basic things that every other chain does, which is like facilitating capital, market making, providing infrastructure, like all of these things. Like from your perspective, do you believe that unless like that SAC money is able to capitalize the chain, because my opinion on it is that it's dead money, right? Like he can never use it, and in fact, having that SAC is a big reason the SEC is pursuing him in the first place. I really think this is all about they just want to take a cut of that money. That's all this is about, really, right?
We agree 100%.
I think it's a giant. He painted a giant target on his back, and it's nothing more than a trophy number at this point because he can never do anything with it, right? What he could do is move it around, and so like I just for frame of reference, right? So if Richard were to want to capitalize the chain, I give this example that even if somebody wanted to bring $10 million into Pulse Chain and buy the most liquid asset, which is PLS on the chain, you put $10 million into PLS, you're immediately down $4 million because there's so little capital on the chain. So even if somebody wants to bring in money, you can't really bring large amounts of money without incurring a large loss right off the bat, right? So you need a certain amount of capital for the chain to really operate. And so I put this out as an example, that 170,000 ETH that Richard bought at the top, which who cares, right? Okay, it's down, doesn't matter. But just put it in perspective for everybody. If you were to take 300 ETH a day and just move it onto Pulse Chain, you don't have to buy it, just move 300 ETH a day. He could do that every day for over 550 days. Okay, like this is the kind of scale that we're talking about, and that's not even the entire SAC. Do you believe fundamentally that, or in your opinion, like, do you think the fact that there is no inflow to capitalize Pulse Chain from that account, that actually inhibits or prevents other whales or large potential participants from wanting to bring their money onto the chain because they immediately incur such a huge risk of doing so?
I believe that, yes, it can. Do I think it stopped, buddy? No, because I know other people that are bringing that caliber of money into the network. I put additional funds over the last year and a half into the network. Steve would know because Steve actually helped me. So it's, Steve does a tremendous amount of market research for me. Who's the up and comer, the disruptors, the movers and shakers that are on the Pulse Chain network? You throw 300 grand here, 500 there, a million there, and you just keep growing with it. Did I think that Richard was going to make a move from the OA to enhance the network's throughput, its aggregate? Yes, I did. Do I still think he wants to? I absolutely do. Do I think he's going to be more cautious right now? Absolutely.
So you're in the camp that a lot of this is getting stagnated because of the case.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that. So my biggest argument, I don't know if you've heard this already, Rock, but my biggest argument for Pulse Chain, the reason I'm so interested in it coming up to the end of this year, and I think next year is going to be a monster year for crypto. So let's just paint it out to January 1st, right? Where do we want to be from now until January 1st? And what I'm seeing is that you have a very sort of like decoupled market in Bitcoin and ETH. So the way I look at it, right, is when we get to December, that's the big month. So if like Bitcoin, for example, we're traded all year, like that average price of like everybody who's been buying Bitcoin this year, right now we are above that price. Ethereum, totally different story. So everyone who traded Ethereum all year, right, up until the last month or two, they're all down on their position. So you get into December and you figure, are we going to get this tax loss harvesting effect? Are we going to get another slip, right? And so every year that the price in December is higher than it was traded at all year, the price goes up. You could look at this past year, go look at October, November, December on a Bitcoin, rips from there, right? But if you get into December and you're actually lower than where everybody traded all year, you're going to go down. And so my biggest concern, the reason I've been coming out, is that I noticed that a lot of people want to trade Pulse Chain as if it were Ethereum. So they see Ethereum take a shit and they sell their bags. They see Ethereum go up and they buy their bags. And my argument is this, is that because Ethereum is such a precarious situation, it is very likely that it will get that tax loss harvesting dump coming in December, and we obviously don't want to see that on Pulse Chain charts. But the reason you should be on Pulse Chain is because it is so decoupled from the rest of crypto. You have one bridge. You don't have oracles. You don't have a ton of movement back and forth, and there's not even that much Ethereum on the chain to begin with. So I just want to put in everybody's mind that, look, just because Ethereum goes down, if it goes down, that does not actually impact Pulse Chain from like you know, a tokenomics or a market bonding perspective at all, right? So I don't know. What have you noticed that effect though? That a lot of times it seems like Pulse Chain is just tailing whatever Ethereum does.
I think it did initially, and I used to. I've got mixed feelings on it because sometimes it seems like things are correlated when they're not, but then everything just you can see people jumping in and out of the network, going back and forth, and it seems to always trail. It seems to me like it trails BTC more than it does Ethereum, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, see, I was under the opinion, maybe contrary to a lot of other people, is I always thought that Richard should have taken you up on not your offer, but as far as like let's say like your advice, right? Because I know what you were trying to do, right? I know you were trying to kind of work on more fronts than Richard was just capable of doing, you know, and I think it was a big mistake for him to have not taken you up on that. Where do you think it's at now? Like, what would you? I mean, besides like looking at other tokens and trying to get out there, like, what do you think would be the single most best impact for the chain? Like, let's say Richard did take you up on it. Like, what would you be doing? Like, do you think the lack of like any sort of like foundation? I know that any protocol I've ever spoken to about onboarding on the Pulse chain, first thing they ask me is like, what's my point of contact? And I tell them, I don't know. There's no point of contact. Like, you can just come and build if you want. What do you think is that like missing piece?
I think that's very relevant as far as a POC goes. The two things that I'm watching right now are obviously the presidential election in Congress. That's one thing I'm looking at. The Securities Exchange Commission, which has a new variable with the whole Finnish tax thing. I think it's a cash grab personally. I don't know how you could have, as you said, a point of contact. He's going for decentralization, including the DeFi product. Everything he's doing is about everything running itself, whether he's there or not. You've heard him make that claim. You can go find all the past videos on YouTube where he's talking about it. It's in the actual movie, The Highest of Stakes, where he was talking about it. And I don't see him deviating from that. So it's I'm not even sure who runs. I know Matty Allen runs the Pulse Chain Network conventions that they do and stuff like that. But what authority does he really garnish within the industry for somebody that wants to come in and do something? What happens if large scale VCs want to come in, but they want to talk to somebody that's more experience in the network, has sway with the network, has veto capability. It's not we're not running a DAO or anything like that. So I think it's your question's valid. It needs to happen to some extent. I don't believe in total deregulation. I believe some regulations needed within the cryptographic industry, and I think that it is a benefit to doing so.
Hey, Trillion.
Hey
Trillion.
guys,
Oh,
oh,
go ahead, Steve.
there we go. Okay, I was just going to let you guys know I need to jump in my car real quick. I'm going to let KG host everything and run it. Trillion, I appreciate your questions too, man. So, oh.
Yeah, bro. I didn't mean to give you a hard time. It's just you know how it is, bro. But once I saw that tattoo, the shirt, bro. I mean, you were right.
No, and I understand it. Let me get outside. Man, I just keep getting muted. Yeah, no, I understand it. I didn't mean to get heated. I'm glad Rack decided to get on here and do this because honestly, I didn't want the pressure of trying to tell people that it was real. Like, how the hell do I even do that?
No, Steve. Really.
Yeah, keep.
And I apologize if we caused any strife with anybody. It's just I needed some time to get away, had to get my head clear, went through something I wouldn't wish on anybody. And obviously I spend more time traveling and just taking cruises now, and I'm kind of bored, and I'm like, listen, I should be contributing to the community, which I do, obviously with various instruments within the Pulse Chain network, liquidity pools, validators, investing into altcoins. But that's why I came back to social media. I'm going to take heat from some people that don't like me, and life happens, mistakes are made. What can you do? You just do your best and move on.
Well, yeah. First of all, Steve, thanks for hosting the space. Rackham, thank you for jumping on. And sorry to hear about personal life. Not something you had to share, but I appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate you coming out back into the public eye, knowing that you would take some heat. But what you're doing right now is so important because, again, like people in this community, they're sort of traumatized to a degree. So the fact that you yourself it shows a lot and it's much appreciated. And I wanted to go back to a point that you and Trillian were just speaking on about a point of contact on Pulse Chain, and people can disagree with this if they'd like, and I'd be open to debate it, but I would position myself as a great point of contact for the community, primarily because I'm connected with all the builders on the chain. I'm connected with all the influencers on the chain. I'm connected with everybody in primary developers on the chain. I have points of contact with, and I can get a hold of anybody that any one person would need to get a hold of. I actually run a builders guild group where I brought all the builders on Pulse Chain together. My team and I, we've built the only wallet in existence that's native to and optimized for Pulse Chain on Android, iOS, and Chrome. So even from the builder's perspective, I know the nuances and quirks of how the network operates and what people need to look out for and build to accommodate for. So any point of contact that anybody would ever need, the short answer is I have that contact and feel free to reach out to me.
Here's the drawback to this kind of stuff, though, and you absolutely should. It's a great place to start. KG is a good dude. Here's the problem: is that the people coming on, they don't want to talk to, like, everybody looks at each other as like competitors. So you kind of have to have like a neutral party that does not actually have a product or stuff like that to talk to. But it's not even about that. It's about like infrastructure, right? So like, for example, if you have this like big builder guild and stuff, well, how much infrastructure have you actually put up for the chain? Like, most of the work that goes in is like, and rightly so, is for your project, right? So when we're trying to like get to the kernel of it, right, not like what's already been built on top, that's what a lot of these protocols want to have a touch base with, like who's actually able to do stuff with the chain itself, right? And that's Richard does, and that kind of situation. So I think it's the best we can get, right? That's why I hope people do take you up on it. But you can see how there is sort of that missing piece there for, serious protocols to come on, and
Well,
they'll come on. They'll come on as long as there's volume, as long as there's money, as long as there's a market here. Like, they will eventually, but it's going to just take much longer.
well, Trillian, I'll say that everything I just said remains true. I also have contact with the Pulse Chain developers. So when I say that I can connect somebody with anybody, regardless, if you need to talk to the node operators, if you need to talk to people working on the bridge, if you need to talk to people working on the APIs, whoever you need to talk to, I can put somebody in contact with them. You name the person, I can put you in contact, barring Richard, because he's not talking to anybody right now. Barring Richard, I can put you in contact with anybody.
Yeah, I think you're the best we got. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, I think that's the best we have. So I hope people take you up on that. I kind of a random, not really crypto related question. Rackham, you've been doing a lot of traveling. I don't know if you're a big reader or not, but is there any like a book or article, or is there any kind of like innovation, maybe in blockchain, maybe not? Like, what's something that's got your interest outside of crypto, or maybe like a good book you read or something? Because I know it's a tough time. I've gotten divorced too, bro. I'm sorry to go through that. I know it's awful, but yeah, is there anything that you found like really interesting, or kind of expanding?
Not really currently. It's been about 2 years. I'm actually, oddly enough, I'm engaged now. I met somebody that's amazing, and she keeps me pretty well grounded. So she's awesome, and but that's really, I mean, just getting ready for the wedding next year, February of next year, and just literally for 6 months, we've just been focusing on injecting new capital into a lot of the alts that are, like I said, on Pulse Chain, and not much of a reader really, but never even read Sci-Fi from Richard. Had never read it. I'm sure it's informative. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, but no, just I've been just Steve's been helping me quite a bit. We've been watching the Pulse Chain network, watching Pulsex, its burn rate, seeing how that's going, and then just trying to really glean See, I didn't even know. I didn't even know Richard got arrested. If he actually did, I don't know if it's one of those where you just report to the police station, walk in there, and they process you, or if they actually came to his location and arrested him. I don't know about any of that. That's news to me.
I don't believe that is true. Actually, I don't believe he was physically detained. As far as there's nothing in the news, nothing I've heard about that. What they essentially did, I think, is that they overcharged whatever it is. You know how sometimes if your charge is like just kind of like a paper thing, they can't really issue a warrant to go get you. So I think they had some kind of tax thing that they wanted to resolve with him. And I think they added this like assault thing to make it like a worse classification than it really is, so that they can have so basically the situation in Finland right now is that they can go ahead and proceed with the hearing without him present, right? So I think that's why they overcharged the assault thing, so they could get that hearing, essentially default judgment against him. So if he ever does show up in Finland, they're going to have reason to mess with them. But I don't know that he's actually been like physically like arrested in Finland. There's nothing I've seen that says that.
Yeah, because I'm in all his videos. I know the exact Louis Vuitton stores that he goes to in Finland. I know the exact one. That's so I know he's in that particular area, but I wouldn't be staying there if I was him. I can tell you that right now. I would look for something elsewhere. He's got his reasons for wanting to. I don't know if it's for taxable purposes. I don't know if it's for just freedom of his lifestyle. I do not know why he ended up there, especially there. That's why I'm a little confused. I'm like, you went to Finland, and as corrupt as they are, and now you're hearing about it because he supposedly owes hundreds of. I mean, that's Finland for you.
Well, you got to consider the source. It's coming from Clio, so you can't really take him at his word. That being said,
I don't know that Rack knows Cleo's background.
okay. Well, that's cool. Well, I'll say this much too. Like I'm from
Yeah, I don't. And my apology. I just don't know him.
right. Yeah. So I'm from Norway. So Finland's in my neck of the woods. And to your point, right? Why the hell would you want to go there if you want to? As far as like taxes goes, that's crazy, right? They rob you.
Do you guys? So sometimes I see a big parallel. Like honestly, I don't think Richard's done anything that is really bad enough for him for like the SEC and all this stuff to come down on him. Like I see kind of like a lot of parallels between what's happening to him and how Andrew Tate was or the Tate brothers were treated. Do you guys kind of get that feeling too? Like this is a bit of
It's a shakeout.
yeah.
It's extortion. This is the SEC wanting it. They want their little payday. It's extortion, and that's all there is to it. That's not opinion. That's just fact. I'm a U.S. citizen. And I'm telling you, the SEC is as corrupt as they come.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I do think this is a bit of a matrix attack on Richard. The only thing that worries me, I'd love to get your opinion on it, is that even if like Richard is fully cleared of all of this stuff, and let's say best possible scenario, he like completely vindicated, right? Do you think they'll just make up another thing to go after him?
Not under double jeopardy by the U.S.
Well, I mean
standard.
something different, right? Like if this doesn't pan out, like do you think this is a matrix attack on Richard, right? So it's like this is one thing they can mess with him on, and then they'll find something else, and it'll just be this perpetual loop.
I believe that they could pursue something more centric to money laundering. That's what I believe. Do I think he did that? Absolutely not. A matter of fact, I mean, if you run the chain analysis on his particular wallets, the OA, and some of the other stuff, you don't see him wash trading stuff. You don't see it. You see a lot of accounts, but you don't see tumblers being used, regularly, if at all. You understand what I'm saying? There's not the breadcrumbs there to substantiate it, but I still would not put it past the SEC to try to go down that particular venue.
Yeah, I mean there are I mean he is very skillful. Like I'm not saying he's doing any of this stuff, but obviously he knows his way around the blockchain, right? So I think like if somebody really knew what they were doing, they could track all of this stuff out. But I agree with that. There's no like tornado cash. There's none of that kind of like sanctioned protocols going on. But he is smart.
I want to apologize. The gentleman earlier that was challenging my credibility about being, Rackham, and he used the plane question about what plane was I looking at. He was correct. I had a lot of inquiries into the Honda Jet and as well as the Gulfstream because I was back and forth about not wanting to get into a fractional plane versus the Honda. I also was looking at the Cirrus. There was another new Cirrus, a next generation Cirrus plane. So to his, I want to make sure that I do say that he actually was correct, and I do apologize.
Well, for the record, if you don't know who he is, he's that's Cleo. He's formerly known as the convicted hex offender. He was the guy that he was the trailblazer basically. He was the first guy, I guess, to notify the SEC. He's part of he's probably the single most or the guy that's responsible for the mess we're in. Contacted
True.
the SEC, he contacted the authorities in Finland. He's basically a cancer to the community.
So he's not an American citizen, so technically whatever he says, nobody gives a shit about here. Like he has no standing to bring anything, and plus he can barely write legible sentences. So it's not Cleo. Like I don't want.
What? Oh, he was not the one. So that's just what he claims then, because that's what
Yeah,
he says, right? So
yeah. I think he just
he
wants the
claims to
clout.
have contacted the SEC.
No, I'm sure he did, but he has no standing with the SEC.
Well,
He's not American.
that's beside the point, though. Anyone can contact him, right?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean,
He's a disgruntled investor that
well, none of you
that
are
to his own
investors.
accord claims that have been one of the the first guys to contact the SEC,
Yeah, but
regardless if he's a British citizen or not.
yeah, and that's okay. Listen, people can look. You can with like 20, like I don't know, like $50, you can bring a lawsuit against anybody in the United States. Like it means nothing, right? But I just
True.
I wouldn't give him
But
all of the
but
credit. Yeah,
so
go
I'll
ahead.
say this much, even though I've known him a long time, and so I don't, yeah, he obviously lies a lot, but he claims that the SEC came and met with him in London. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he claims.
Well, here's why it's good to kind of have a Clio, right? Because as much as people understand, like none of you guys are investors, you are holders. If you are an investor, that means you would have been promised something for capital. That didn't happen in any situation on Pulse Chain or Hex ever at any point. You are holders, you are not investors, you are not do anything, right? You have nobody is working for you,
Oh, I
let's
agree
just
with
say.
you. Yeah,
So,
we're on the same
but
page.
but here's the problem is that the SEC, you guys know how much money that the FTX whistleblower got for narking on Sam Alameda and FTX? Do you know how much he was paid?
I don't know, but that again to Cleo's point, right? That's what he's looking for. He's looking for a where he was constant. That's what he's gloating about, right? That's what he's looking for, a payday. But no, humor me. How much did they get?
30 million.
There you go. So
That's a pretty good
that's a
payday.
Yep.
pretty good
That's a
payday. Yeah,
good
exactly.
payday.
Yeah. So here's the problem with the SEC is that it's incredible they could parade people into that courtroom that are going to say very similar things to what Cleo said. They have no case. You guys, if you don't think they're going to play this dirty, they have to. They have no case. I mean, it's as bad as Pulsex is forked from Uniswap has developers in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is in America, and so they're like, this is how bad their argument is. So the problem, my biggest concern is that they're going to find people who are essentially going to come into court and say a lot of the same and just seeking a payday. Unfortunately, Cleo, you don't qualify. I'm sure you would have loved the spot, but Rich has got great lawyers. They're going to be able to dispel a lot of it. It's going to go away. I think that's the only thing that the SEC's really got up their sleeve is that they're going to find people that knew Richard, maybe spoke to him, like, before he became Richard Hart, right? There's a lot of people in Florida that know the guy, like you can still go see old podcasts and stuff where people kind of talk about Richard in not the most like flattering light. I think they're going to find some of these people to come into court and give like character, attest to his character that, yeah, I mean, he was kind of like sketchy and that kind of stuff. So
There's going to be limitations on that because there's a sunset clause within a certain amount of years that they can actually make something actionable or enforceable as far as the SEC goes, because I've tangled with them twice.
well, Richard would do well to just sue every one of these people for defamation, or just make it very clear that if you do, I'm going to sue you for defamation. That you're not just going to get away with like tarnishing my name.
I can't comment on that, but Richard's he Richard's not going to settle, gentlemen. I hope you don't think he's going to settle, because he's not.
I hope he won't. I mean, he shouldn't.
I don't
And
think.
especially to your point, right? If he's done this correctly, and I'm assuming he has, considering everyone basically pointed out that the SEC was going to come after him. He must have saw, like, it was in the tea leaves, right? This was going to happen. So I'm assuming he's covered himself as much as you can. I mean, anyone's person's, you're gonna.
Angle is that they might actually is a tax angle, and I think maybe Rackham, you mentioned this too. For example, what they might try to argue is that like it's okay that the money was sent to him, but he didn't declare it properly. And now that they have all these laws, if somebody sends you above a certain amount, you technically have to report their like social security and like this whole contrived nonsense too. I actually think that that's the sort of next step that I'm more concerned about. And yeah, like I don't think Richard wants to settle, but I think at some point, depending on what the terms are, like if this is like a $20 million fine, at some point I would say pay the fine, but I don't know. Do you disagree, Rocco?
This
I think
I would,
that's wisdom. That's wisdom, and I agree with you 100%. At what point is it more cost effective to end it, move on, get back on social media and the various venues that he's on, start streaming again, rally your base. Don't go back to the shock marketing. We don't need it. We just need you to be the leader, debate the people that want to debate, look for adoption on other venues. I know he wants to go for this incredibly decentralized network, which is fantastic. I invested enough money into it. I'm behind the vision. I'm not contrary to the vision, but at the same time, I don't. I think it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean anything. It just, he's doing this for, quote, glory. That's what he's doing it for. It's for his name's sake. And he's not going to settle, not even for a small fine. He wants to beat the SEC using Murder Row. That's what he's going to do.
But
I,
this.
Yeah, he's totally set up
I
for that.
accept your apology,
Look,
Rackham Michelle, in relation to the aircraft. We was speaking a couple of years ago when you was last time we was talking. I'm a pilot, as you know. Well, you do now, but we was talking about serious.
I think the gentleman, he got cut off just now. I heard something about an aircraft. I
No,
apologize.
that's okay. No, we was talking a couple of years ago. You was looking at aircrafts. We were speaking about Cirrus Honda jets, Gulfstreams, etc. I'm a pilot, so I was just talking through just out of interest, really, with you. So yeah, that was me. But I'd like to correct Trillion. Trillion,
Hey,
I actually have
Cleo,
dual citizenship. So
one moment. Wait, Rackham, can you hear Cleo speaking?
I believe I can. We were just kind of clearing the air about, he initially quizzed me to make sure, because he is correct. He did converse with me several years ago about, various planes and everything, but it's a bit foggy to me. It's been a couple years, and I've since obviously moved on with it, and I just wanted to ensure that the channel knew that I'm not above correction. So I apologize. He was correct, and I was incorrect in that
no, that's
instance.
cool, dude. No problem at all. No problem at all. But I'd like to correct Trillion. I actually have dual citizenship between the UK and the USA. Um, yeah, I just thought I'd jump up because he was talking about me quite a lot, so I thought I'd correct him.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's great. Bro, you gotta understand this. You will
But
make way more money if that is your goal. If you kind of just move on from this,
but
it's just my opinion. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
you do know that you don't have to be a US citizen to make a complaint to the SEC, though, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, anybody can write a letter. Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Well,
just
it's
saying
actually it's a lot more than just writing a letter. Like you don't just like
let's hear your complaint. Let's hear your complaint. Actually, what is your complaint exactly?
my complaint is it's fully transparent. I do not deny the fact that I am a whistleblower to the SEC
What
in
Richard
relation
committed
to
fraud
Richard
on
Schuler
you?
and what he's done.
Well, where's the fraud?
He's a scammer, dude. He's a liar, a manipulator, a scammer, and it's not right.
Well, the
But
judge said,
but
well,
he's not. He's
he
not.
delivered what he said he was going to do.
No, he
He
didn't.
delivered There
No,
is no
no.
fraud.
He
Where's the
didn't.
fraud? He said he was
Hey
going to do anything with
guys,
these funds,
real
and
quick,
yeah.
As much as I'd love to debate that situation, I'd probably just rather keep it to questions focused to Rack, if I'm being
It is actually
honest.
really helpful, though,
Yeah, right on.
Scuba Steve. It's a really helpful conversation to have because it causes a lot of frustration in the community.
It does, and I agree. And there's a lot of people that don't even like that I allowed you up here, of course, right? And so,
Because they're
and
gatekeepers, dude. They want to talk about decentralization, transparency, etc., and the freedom of speech, which they invested into, not sacrifice, invested into, but then gatekeep negativity. Like it's
That's
well,
hypocritical.
100% wrong, Cleo.